Hey guys, welcome back to Clownfish TV. This is Neon. I am here with Geeky Sparkles.
Hello.
And Lord of the Rings, the Power of the Rings, the Power of the Rings of the Lord of the Rings is getting blasted on YouTube. The trailer dropped yesterday during the Super Bowl. Actually,
of course it did.
Of course it did. Of course it did. And it looks pretty expensive, I guess. It looks better.
I saw it, yeah.
What I've seen of it, the visuals look better than what the photos look like. That being said, they are getting trolled hard. And by
shocker.
By trolled, I don't mean the actual trolls from Middle Earth. I mean trolled with a quote. We're going to talk about this because I saw it popping up all over the place last night, and I'm like, what the hell is going on? And they're getting blasted on YouTube, on Twitter, by a lot of salty Tolkien fans who are kind of like, why the hell does this need to exist?
Yeah, well, that and the fact that they're also putting out things that basically say if you don't like it, that you're istophobe.
Yeah.
We'll talk about that too.
Yeah, we'll talk about this. So before we get into it any further, please subscribe for more pop culture news, views, and rants, guys. Over 257,000 subs, almost 258. We're almost 258.
Happy Valentine's Day.
Yeah, happy Valentine's Day. Thank you so much for the support. We do talk about pop culture, talk about the entertainment industry. We've been talking about the Lord of the Rings, the power of the Lord of the
Yes,
power
we know.
of the
We've
whatever.
heard you do it.
Yeah, you've heard me do it before. And anyway, it's coming to Amazon. It's a $1 billion production.
That just blows my mind.
And it's also very diverse and inclusive.
We need to flush so much money down the toilet.
Yeah, I know, right? I think normies are going to watch it, especially since they dropped the trailer during the Super Bowl.
Yeah.
They're going to be like, hey, look, it's more Lord of the Rings. But why do we need more Lord of the Rings, especially? Yeah, especially when so much of this is going to be made up.
It's
on the
pretty much all made up.
Yeah, there are some hints as to what happened from Tolkien himself, and the rest of it is just going to be just made up fan fiction. So we're gonna talk about this. Before we get into what's actually going on with this quote, the OneRing.net, which is a site I used to frequent very often back in the late 90s, early 2000s, when they were working on the original trilogy. They always had inside scoops and stuff like that. And at some point in time, they went really woke, I guess, because they were constantly out there sort of baiting and attacking fans who aren't on board.
Well, don't you know anybody who doesn't agree with them and doesn't has any opinion that they don't contrary to them, even if you have a good reason, doesn't matter. It's because you're an istophobe.
Yeah, that is pretty much it. And this is getting old. I mean, I got to tell you, we do videos like this. We've been doing these kinds of videos for like 4 years now. And it is the most tired, lazy defense of wholesale changes, whole cloth changes being made to established IP is like, well, you're just a bigot if you don't like it that Superman's gay all of a sudden, and it's like, no, that's literally not it. I don't think most people would have a problem with new characters or new IP featuring more diverse people, but when you've got existing IP, it's just such a ham-fisted way to just shove, changes in there to be current year.
I think it's actually worse because in the future of this franchise, when you saw the movies that were in the past, this wasn't there. This diversity, inclusion, quote unquote, wasn't there. So short of going and redoing those movies and adding it, it's going to look really weird. It's actually worse because, what was there, like a mass genocide that only certain people of certain, colors and sexual orientations were suddenly eliminated for no reason whatsoever? Yeah,
we talked about this in the previous video. It was like, all the brown people suddenly get gone by the time of...
That's what people are questioning. And they're like, you're just against... And no, they're just like, this doesn't make any sense.
No, but it's current year. It's Amazon. They've got mandates, right? So anyway, there is this quote going around. And you can see it, and you will see it on the trailer itself. Evil cannot create new. It can only destroy and ruin what is created out of good. They're attributing it to Tolkien. We'll see if it actually is Tolkien or not, but you're going to see it all over the damn place in many languages on the official video. Different languages.
You just weaponized everybody with your own damn quote.
Yeah, look at this. It is every freaking comment, and this is the official trailer on the official Prime Video channel. 7 million views, and it is just, they're getting blasted. So we'll go out to Bounding in the Comics. After attacking fans, Amazon Studios' first Lord of the Rings of Power, the Power of the Lord trailer gets roasted on YouTube with quote attributed to Tolkien. So they're getting blasted on the YouTube channel. They're getting blasted on Twitter. I saw it yesterday. I'm like, what the hell is going on here? Polish, English, Russian, of course, Russians. Russians, of course. Russian interference. They want to destroy.
Oh, Russian bots.
Russian bots.
Russian bots.
Russian bots want to destroy the Lord of the Rings. And Lord of the Rings fans across the world repeated the phrase, evil cannot create anything new. It can only distort and destroy what was invented or created by the forces of good, attributing it to Lord of the Rings creator Tolkien. The quote appears to be a paraphrase. I was going to say, this is not a direct quote, a paraphrase from The Lord of the Rings, Return of the King, where Frodo tells Sam, the shadow that bred them can only mock, it cannot make, not real new things of its own. I don't think it gave life to the orcs, it only ruined them and twisted them. And if they're to live at all, they have to live like other living creatures. So basically, you can't make anything new.
But it's even better this way. The shadow, the Amazon that bred this can only mock, they cannot make. Not real new things of its own. They gave life to this shit. And they only ruined them and twisted them.
Yeah, and that's what people are saying is like you're not making anything new. You're just twisting existing properties, and so much of this is going to be completely made up on the fly. God, guys, ads, seriously. Of course, there's a big ad for the Whopper in this trailer. We find out that that dwarves like Whoppers. I was joking. This is the trailer. The trailer itself is actually smaller than the Whopper ad. But yeah, I mean, it doesn't show anything. It literally just shows, some very expensive looking graphics and just kind of gives a very vague idea of what the show's going to be about.
It shows you some characters who majorly hail the checkboxes.
Yeah, right. That's exactly it. So here's a sampling of the numerous users using the phrase to roast Lord of the Rings, the Rings of Power. You can see Polish and Russian speakers using the phrase. Must be Russian bots. Be Russian bots. In Polish, the phrase reads, it's something in Polish. I'm not even going to attempt to read it. It's not just Russians and the Portuguese speakers also got in on it. Now, whether or not they're actually from those countries or just people translating it and posting it. Plenty of English speakers participating, expressing their dislike for the trailer and the perversion being committed by Prime Video on Tolkien's work as well.
It's not going to matter because no matter what happens, they'll make sure that it gets all these views and they're going to make sure and contrary to all the trolls and the toxic fans. See, that's what gets me. I am so tired of hearing this toxic fan bullshit. And basically what it boils down to is they didn't agree with me.
Yeah.
I mean, if you're out there, like, there's actually people out there deliberately doing toxic things, like sending death threats and, harassing people and stuff like that. Okay, that's one thing. But you see that on both sides. And I actually could argue you see it more on the far left, even for the shows they like. They send death threats and they don't get their way. And then you have that, and then, but that is toxic. I mean, that is bullshit. But most fans are just like, what the hell? This doesn't make sense. Why are you doing this? Where's the beard on the dwarf queen? Well, why are you doing this? And then you're toxic. No, we don't have to listen to you. Only the real fans. They'll appreciate this.
Yeah, and the thing is that this is not actual Tolkien. I mean, that's the thing. I mean, people, I remember, speaking of the OneRing.net, I remember back in the day, people having problems with a lot of the changes being made to Peter Jackson's trilogy. And then people had problems with The Hobbit, adding a lot of, padding it out and adding a bunch of new characters that didn't exist. And this is like how far we've strayed. We went from, okay, we're going to deviate a little bit from the books to make Tolkien more palatable for normies and turn it into like an action adventure series.
Right, which they did.
And it worked. I mean, it did. There are people that don't like the changes, whatever. But for the most part, I think
there's a reason why books are usually better than the movies.
Yeah, and Tolkien's, it's a hard read for a lot of people, But then, we got to The Hobbit, and we literally took the shortest book, made a trilogy out of it, added a bunch of stuff from the appendices, and just kind of scuttlebutt.
And it annoyed you like crazy.
Created new characters. Like, why the fuck do we need these characters? And freaking Legolas doing the Super Mario jump at the end. I'm like, what the hell? What the hell?
It was pretty like
what the hell is this?
So now we're just making it all up.
Now we're just making it all up.
And then there's just going to be this big disconnect with the diversity initiatives and then the new ones that are the old movies, the more modern things that don't have it in. And that's where I'm sitting. I'm just like, how are you going to explain this? I mean, like racism and toxicity killed all these people for no reason.
Yeah, lots of changes. That Galadriel, they have her, armored up, and she's going to go to war because, strong woman. You know,
right. Well, I like the one, the quote or the tweet that they had put out there where they were harassing people and they're saying, oh, it's because of toxic fans. And they're going about gay Gandalf. Nobody cared.
Yeah, speaking of the OneRing.net, I mean, I remember when they had the casting choices, and I do remember the vast majority of people being very excited that Ian McKellen was going to be Gandalf. They're like, he's absolutely perfect. He'd already been an X-Men at that point.
And he did a great job. I don't remember anybody complaining about it.
No, this is it. This is revisionist history. This is what they always do. They're always like, wow, you know, the racists and the bigots have always complained about the gays and the blacks and all these people in these movies. It's like, no,
they didn't. Most people just didn't care. Like, you watch people that were like not straight on shows, and there was whole shows dedicated to that. People loved them and watched them. If you watch people that were not white all the time in movies and shows, nobody cared. Everybody's like, oh, did you see the new movie by so and so? Oh my god, yeah, I can't wait to go see it. It wasn't like because they're black, you know, like they do now. This is a new construct that they have put together in the last like few years to try to use as a straw man argument against everything, and mostly their shortcomings and why people don't like them. So it's not because they can't tell a story and they suck. It's because everybody else are terrible people.
But this quote, I mean, you know, regardless of whether or not it's actually a Tolkien quote, is very accurate. And this is what we're seeing in pop culture right now. Is we're seeing the corruption and commandeering of classic IP created by people who actually cared about their creations by corporate America. Corporate greed. You know, I was thinking about yesterday, I did the Star Wars video. Geeky sat that one out. But did the Star Wars video, and it was like, you know, Disney's never going to care as much about Star Wars as George Lucas did.
No.
And it's going to be treated like a product. At this point, Lord of the Rings is an IP. It's a product. And they're going to get people in there who love the platform. They love the idea of being able to say on their resume, hey, I worked on the Lord of the Rings show. You know, I got all my activist, brownie points on that show. And I got paid for it. And they just moved on to the next thing.
Well, yeah. And it's all about getting subscribers for them. That's what it's about. And they're willing to spend the money to do it. I'm just tired of it. I'm tired of the same old arguments. And it's basically just an excuse for, like you said, reappropriating stuff poorly.
Yeah.
And then you don't want the people that, you don't want the baggage that comes with it, the fans that kept it around to make it worth bringing back. So you immediately, are toxic to those fans, and by calling them toxic, to try to find your new audience. But the new audiences, the way these people are, they don't cling to things like they people like us did when we were kids and you grew up with it. So it doesn't work out as well. Or they lose money, or it fails. Or, and then they're like, well, we hit Cowboy Bebop. Look what they did there. And then they didn't renew it. All these shows, they don't do well. These comics don't do well. They don't sell. The proof is in the pudding. And then people don't want to back it. And then, it's because of toxicity and not because, maybe they just didn't do a very good version of it. Now, this might be good. We don't know. I'm not going to watch it because I honestly don't effing care.
Yeah, I'm at the point now, and it's kind of like with Star Wars, too. I mean, I said before, as far as, movie and TV versions of Lord of the Rings go, after The Hobbit, I'm like, yeah, I don't care. I mean, they made so much of it up, and it was such an easy book to get right. You just had to stick to the source. I mean, it was the most accessible Tolkien book.
We're only talking about it because, one, it's another example of everything we've been talking about yet again. And two, I bet Neon cares more than he says. And it's like me doing all the Shearer videos. He doesn't care about the Shearer things, but I did. I don't care about the Lord of the Rings so much because I didn't care two shits about the show. But I think in some way he does because he read the books and he'll always like Lord of the Rings. But
yeah, it's heartbreaking to see any, like, again, classic work of pop culture get corrupted in such a way. We've seen it with Doctor Who. We've seen it with, and these are all things I loved.
Because they're gonna focus
Dungeons and Dragons, Doctor Who.
We already know they're not focusing on here are some good characters and some characters and here we're gonna tell some stories about them. It's about, we mentioned diversity and inclusion, and immediately you don't like our trailer. It's because you hate black people or you hate LGBTQ people or whatever. So right after the get-go, when they're leading with agenda, then it's not about we care about these characters. It's about we care about our agenda, and then right there. And it could have been good. It could have been still done. They could have still done some of these characters and done it well if they focused on characterization and story first that made sense. Yeah. And then focused on, let's get these other points across in the thing. But they are telling you right from the get-go, we're going with agenda. That's just like everything else. Just like everything else. And this is the selling point, and this is exactly what it's going to be. So there it is, guys. Just thought we'd keep you in the loop. We're going to wrap this one up. Yep.
Please subscribe for more pop culture news, views, and rants, and we'll talk later.
Bye.